All right, everybody, I wanted to make a kind of well, we're going to quickly do chapters 39 and 40, right? And then we are going to launch into everyone mentioning something that they have learned from the book of knowledge. And I've been going over the book of knowledge myself to see what were the points I was attracted to, because each one of us is drawn to different ideas, So I'm hoping you all will each talk about anything you've learned. But I just wanted to speak from my heart to all of you. A lovely lady wrote me a letter, and she said, my teenagers don't like book one because it's written in like baby language. So I started reading it and thinking, yeah, I wrote it for 5-year-olds, but the ideas are all there. The ideas are really deep. And maybe in a way we should get teenagers to read the baby version and teach it, to young people, because it's so deep. And then a teenager said, now this is quite interesting. You know what? I don't need to be told. I shouldn't be greedy. I shouldn't lie. I know all this. So I'm thinking, yeah, are we just telling you all? Al-Ghazali says it's best never to backbite, never to be angry. Are we just saying, and you know that already? So I'm thinking, what's really going on here? What are we really being taught? And I lie in bed thinking about this, because even though I'm older than you all are, probably everybody, we're all the same in this. Because what happens? I asked my husband this morning, what about lying? He said, it's very subtle, and you have an opportunity to lie all the time, saying you did a little better than you did. There are all kinds of ways. All these things are going on all the time. Subtle bragging, subtle lying, subtle anger. And I realized what we are being taught, right? Because there's not a tradition in the world that doesn't say, don't do this stuff. We are being taught from the very beginning by Imam Al-Ghazali who we really are. There's the real self, the golden heart, who you really are, your goodness, your fitra. And then we know from the three selves, we've got the nafs al-amara, the lower part of it's the false self that's telling you, go ahead, keep the biggest piece for yourself. Don't bother to whatever it is, right? So the problem is, if we are acting out of our lower self, that's when we're greedy, right? Keep the biggest for me, it's self-interested. Let me lie because something better will happen for me, right? If you look at all the things we shouldn't be doing, they're all coming out of the lower self. So I think what Imam Al-Ghazali is trying to teach you as children and us as adults, why do you think adults read Imam Al-Ghazali? Why do you think the great scholars read him? Because he's saying, look, try to quit doing it out of the nafs, right? Try to move and act from your heart so that you're in a state of patience. You're being patient, because the impatient one is the one who's thinking, I'm sick of this. He's talking too long, whatever. So how do we, the whole process is, how do we remember that we are our true golden selves and don't identify with our movie, our package? I'm me, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I do this, I do that. It's not working out the way I think it should. All of this thinking is where all the trouble comes in. And how do we move from identifying with our little story, like I'm 12 years old and I want a better iPhone and I. How do we switch to that part of us which is deathless and pure and the spirit? That's what Imam Al-Ghazali is giving us, are these tools, so that we can slowly catch ourselves having the stupid thought, or at least be aware of it. You know how many people walk around like blind and stupid in their lives? They're just walking around, thinking everything's got to be their way and people were not nice to me, so these are important things we have to learn. And that's what we're really doing, So I don't want anyone who's a teenager to think this stuff is really babyish. No, we're just putting it in simpler language, you know, for adults. And so in this last chapter, 2 chapters, it was about being a better teacher, you know, and how we can best teach. And as we all know, and you can all talk about this, and then we're going to go to each person doing an individual presentation of what ideas have attracted you most and how you're being able to use them in your lives. But let's just finish with we're going to finish the book of knowledge today. So we've been talking about how to be a kinder teacher. You know, that when you're teaching someone, should you yell at them? Should you be really upset? Or should you be calm and should you criticize them and scream at them? Or should you instead show them the better way to be, you know? So that's one of the things. And then also remember, Imam al-Ghazali ends with the image of the 2 trees, that we can be a crooked kind of person, and then people who copy us will be copying crookedness. And then if we are correct when we do things, people love that. You know, when you see somebody being kind, you love that because they are being straight. And maybe it gives you an inspiration to copy that. So would any of you all like to make a comment? Yes, Medina, about being a good teacher. What would you like to contribute, Medina?
So at school, I was playing this game, and I have this 3rd grade friend, and he got skipped back a year, so he had to do another year, and I was showing him how to spell this word, and he mixed it up, and then I helped him. I didn't say, no, that's wrong, and then scream at him.
Good. So she was patient. Isn't that a wonderful example, everyone? Okay, somebody from the Turkish group. Let's have something you all have noticed about teaching and how to be. Alperin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Can you address this question?
You should go calm and easy, because if you go hard and yeah, maybe they won't want to listen.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Calm. Exactly. And don't we like calm people? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Okay, who else would like to speak? One of the twins, would you all like to speak? Yusuf, Zaki?
So I've got this, well, Yusuf has as well, but we've got this really nice teacher, and she is probably the nicest teacher in the school. She teaches us English, and she's very sweet and nice, and she kind of never gets angry. I mean, I've never seen her angry, like properly angry. She can get annoyed, but you can't really see that she's annoyed.
Oh, how
really
merciful, how generous of her. That's great.
Raisha, that's my biggest problem. You know,
Yeah.
like I act sometimes to the kids like soldiers, you know, like too much strict. And then like during these Ghazali lessons, I think like, I mean, I started to like soften and take it easy. And I'm just telling this loud, so this becomes an affirmation for me too. So okay, I shall keep it that way all the time. So Alhamdulillah, thank you so much.
That's really great. Let's see, Lubna, are you out there?
Yes, I'm here.
Could you and your wonderful children talk about this?
Well, I completely agree with Haldun there, because you know, there's that hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that if you were harsh, is it the hadith of the Quran? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you were harsh with them, they would have run away from you. So that really always stays in my mind regarding teaching. But in terms of the book of knowledge, I think the wanting best for others is a very important quality of a teacher, because you have to sincerely love your students and want the best for them.
That's beautiful. And of course, remember, children, what we're talking about here, all of us, parents, adults, we are all teachers every moment. Every moment, somebody can imitate us or learn from us every moment. So this idea that you've just said, Lubna, of course, is perfect. You know, yeah. If we really want to help someone, right, we'll do it in a way that works, right? And it wouldn't be screaming at them, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
What are your children? Would everybody offer something?
Okay, I think you have to be honest, I think kind of like going off what they said, you have to like keep yourself contaminated. Like if someone uncontaminated, sorry.
Uncontaminated.
If someone, for example, is doing something in class, I don't know, like maybe they're playing with something and they're not listening or anything, you shouldn't really like call them out. You should try to get them to communicate more and try to talk about things that maybe they can relate to instead of shouting and telling someone off.
Very good. Mhm. Yes. Rest of the family.
So mine was like bad things happen to us on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And something that helps me get through that is saying bad things happen for a reason.
No, but she's talking about being a teacher now.
Yeah, so like hope.
Oh.
It makes me have hope in everything that I do, like every day, and it just makes me get less mad about small things that happen to me. So yeah.
Oh.
You know, honestly, what you're saying is, I think we can mix it up. We can talk about being a teacher and what we got from the Book of Knowledge. And I went through the whole Book of Knowledge and I looked at all the chapters. And the things really, the ant story helps me the most. Yes, yes, you go ahead and speak.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say that the ant story where they wanted to go to the zoo,
Yeah.
and what happened was obviously the lion got out.
Yeah.
And that was what happened for a reason. So you could kind of relate to that if you're a teacher. So you could say like, if a kid is being naughty in class and you're handling it terribly, maybe over time, for example, you can look back on that and you can kind of improve yourself. So that happened so that you could improve your own self. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's very powerful. You know, it makes you not worry so much when difficult things are happening too, you know, but then look at, you know, I think when a difficult thing happens to any of us, we can teach by that. I remember I was in Prague and with a few friends and my husband, and somehow somebody went into my purse and stole all of my money and my credit cards. So I didn't get angry. I didn't get upset. It's gone, right? Alhamdulillah. And I will proceed to do. And the couple that we were with said, but why didn't you get upset and fall apart and carry on? So I taught them, you see, that's a way to react. So just what you're bringing up here, when something happens that's bad, you can be a teacher by handling it in a different way, you know? Very good point. Who else would like to speak? Yeah.
We've got some hands up.
Go ahead. Would you be the hand person, Lubna?
Yes, we've got Bilal.
I think teachers have to be merciful because if they're teaching kids, kids don't always get it right. And that could get problematic if you are like very angry at them when they don't get it right. And so I think you have to be able to forgive if they get something wrong more than once. And I think if you're not the right teacher for the job, like you're just getting really annoyed and you can't teach them, and then I think you should call somebody else who can handle it more easily and not let yourself blow up in the kid's face.
Yeah, that would be, So that applies to you too. You see, if you have your sister and she's fooling around and doing something and knocks over your Legos, oh, how should you handle that? Should you be angry at her, or what should you do? What would be the correct way you would say Medina comes into your room and knocks over one of your huge castles by mistake? What would you say to her? What are the two things you could say to her?
I could get angry at her and like get revenge, which is very bad.
Oh, God.
Or I could deal with it and rebuild the castle and just kind of tell my sister to be more careful around my Legos.
Yes. Medina, you may as well speak. You're in the picture, and then we'll go on to the other hands.
Well, my friend, she got these two brothers who are really annoying. Like whenever she finishes her Lego sets, they just destroy it. And they're really, really mean to her. One is like 12, and the other is, I don't know, but sometimes they do some things that are really bad. And I should tell her because she gets really upset with them. And I should tell her that she should actually be okay with it. I mean, the things they do are really bad sometimes, but if they do not so bad things, then it's okay to not have revenge.
Yeah, of course. All right. Lubna, will you call on various people who have their hands up?
Yeah, so Zoya, is your hand up there?
So for the teacher thing, the person I've actually been say about is actually the same person that Zach and Yusuf said. Our teacher she's really, really kind, and whenever she's not happy about something, she doesn't get really mad and start screaming at all of us. She handles it in a really nice way, and she's also really bubbly and warm and friendly. And my thing from the Book of Knowledge in general, it's just being generally kind. Like I've noticed a lot of things, so making dua for someone who does something wrong rather than getting angry at them, or not backbiting when you're mad at someone. I think that's something that's really stood out for me.
That's really good. That's really important. Are you doing well with it? Are you starting to watch yourself and correct yourself? How are you doing?
I try, but I do get angry quite quickly.
But do you see yourself doing it? Can you see yourself?
I try to, yeah.
That's good. Okay, your sister, what would she like to add in here? Is that your sister?
I'm the mommy. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Same thing. Moms are sisters, right? We're all on the way together. This is a group journey, all right?
We are. So for me, the teacher and what I've learned from the Ghazali series, actually, they actually tie in. So from the Ghazali series, and I think I mentioned this to Lubna, my dad passed away in September. And the circumstances around his death were quite, they made me really angry. And it happened very quickly. And exactly a month later, my son was in a really, really bad car crash, which again made me upset, angry, all those emotions. And I think I can't remember if it was Lubna or Farhana or Sarah. It was one of the fantastic mummies in this group. My persona and my reaction and my mindset, I would have been very, very angry with all the circumstances around these two events. But really, it was what we learned. It was actually a class that Lubna did in Farhana's kitchen about everything that happens for a reason. There's good in it, there's barakah in it. We don't see it today, but in the long term, God has a plan, and we just have to trust his plan.
Amen.
And I have to admit, if it wasn't for that class, then you did your story about where you were going to go on a boat ride and the weather turned really bad and you couldn't, and the ant story, and all those stories came back to me as I was dealing with these two sort of incidences. And actually, from a teacher perspective, my dad, who I lost, he was a bit like Lubna's dad, where I don't think I've ever seen him get angry or cross
Yeah.
And I wish I was a bit more like him. And I know I'm not, but I know I need to be more like him. So thank you to you for doing these books. And thank you for all the mummies for all these fantastic lessons. And to the kids, what one of the kids just said, you know, be merciful to us. We don't always get it right. And I know I'm maybe a bit more of a soldier like you, Halden, where I treat them like, come on, you gotta do this. It's a bit of a military operation, and I know I shouldn't do that. So I'm trying. I'm not there yet, but I'm trying.
That's really beautiful. It makes me cry listening to you, because we're all in this together, you know.
We are.
And the
So
thing,
thank you.
yeah. But I mean, the fact you could learn these beautiful things from your father, you know. But the fact that you see that, that's what you're supposed to copy. You see, we're not just supposed to look at these things and say, well, he's just a calm person and I'm just a crazy person. We actually have to start copying them. Thank you for sharing that. Really made me cry, you know. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. All right, everybody else who hasn't spoken, let's get to everybody. Is Amber in there somewhere?
Yeah, she's got her hand up, in fact, mashallah.
Okay, let's have a word for Amber. I love to go to Amber's bedroom and hear what she's doing. Here we are.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Well, what I wanted to say was that a lot of people here have mentioned, you know, when you're teaching, you shouldn't get angry, you know, have patience, be calm. And obviously that's all correct, and that's what we need to try and do. But something that I've personally experienced is that when people are trying to teach you, sometimes like this is particularly at school, if you ask people to explain like different concepts to you or whatever, for whatever subject, sometimes they can be a little patronizing about it, and they can make you, you know, feel bad for not understanding it. But you know, the whole point of asking them was so that you could understand whatever you were asking them about. But yeah, that's just something that I've really noticed.
That's beautiful.
And as you said, like these things can be really subtle, and this can also be subtle. It's, you know, just, it could be, you know, they I don't know, they may roll their eyes, or, you know, their tone of voice might change, but it just makes you feel bad. And
wow, very subtle, isn't it? You know?
And sometimes you can even do these things without thinking. So I think it's important for us all to be mindful of, you know, how we are teaching people.
You know, when people do things like that, roll their eyes at you. I mean, I watch people who are turned off by me, you know, but, you know, we shouldn't react. We should just bear witness peacefully. You know, that person is in that stage of their life. These kinds of things annoy them. They have this kind of personality. They've been through something terrible. They're upset because whatever happened. So we have to be merciful to everyone, even when they're doing horrible things to us. Just let it go. You know, if we get upset, remember, it changes our your whole body can feel it. Your whole equilibrium goes. You become anxious and you can feel it. Why should you get upset by somebody else doing what is in their very nature? They can't help it, you know.
Yeah, so true.
We ought to chill out, you know, and just be peaceful and bear witness and just want the best for them, just as you were saying. And what about your brother? What are you going to tell us?
I think that we should be, if you're a teacher, you should be understanding, because just think about it as like from the other person's perspective, like they might not know it as well as you, or people are like better at different things, you know, so you just got to understand that and have some empathy. So
that's really true, isn't it? And what did you get from the whole book of knowledge? What have been some ideas that you've been able to use in your life?
Well, for example, in the story of the boy and the horse, when he kind of like lost his horse and then he found loads of them, thought it was really great, and then actually he wanted to keep one for himself, and it stamped on his leg. He broke his leg. Well, actually what you learn from that is if something bad happens, which was initially what happened, there's always something good in it. And it's really relatable, because for me, I broke my toe and my finger and thought, oh, that's it now. No more sport, no more anything for like the rest of the summer. But actually it meant that it was kind of like Allah's way of protecting me so that I didn't maybe catch COVID or something. So
look at that. Isn't that something? Yeah, that's the thing is, that's going on all the time, every single second, and remember the Quran says you may think a thing is bad for you and it's really good for you, and the reverse. But if everything were just going along smooth, you wouldn't have an opportunity to polish your heart if just everything is okay. But let a trial come, let a disappointment come. These are just being given to you. That's Allah giving you these opportunities to, like, oh boy, here it is. I'm going to hold on to patience. It's not like you're going to become patient overnight or merciful overnight. But I have to tell you, over the years, if you're onto it, you will be able slowly, you will actually become you will see things differently. So don't give up, keep trying.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And Amber, were there any things particularly from the Book of Knowledge you learned?
Quite a few things actually, but I don't remember which chapter this was, but it was about it mentioned that your heart is like a house.
Yeah.
And you want to keep that house clean. So by keeping your heart and your house clean, we need to purify ourselves from the outside and the inside.
Yes.
From the outside by doing wudu and just being clean, I guess, but also I think more importantly on the inside by having good thoughts, because in the Book of Knowledge it also talks about if you have bad thoughts, that's the equivalent of like having like barking dogs scaring away the angels in your presence, and obviously no one wants that. So we all need to have good thoughts, and not just good thoughts but positive thoughts as well. Yeah, so we don't want negative or bad or inappropriate thoughts.
That's one of my favorite stories too, because what an interesting image he gives us of the dogs barking, and those are our naughty thoughts, with the angels. And these are just wonderful images to give us an idea about the state of our heart. When we're at peace and quiet, the angels are present there. But the thing about becoming aware of all of these things is I'm often aware of when I have a bad thought. I mean, you can see it. You can actually watch it. And what we're trying to do with these tools we're being given by Imam al-Ghazali is start to actually watch a thought come up. I can see myself sometime watching me think I'm going to keep the biggest for myself. So there is the nafs al-lawama. It's the agent from the nafs al-mutma'inna. The real self has sent the correcting self and is saying, wow, look at the lower self taking hand. And we're, as we said last time, everyone, this process, our whole life is a long conversation we're having with ourselves. We can hear other people talking, but then we react. So we're always we have the ability to watch ourselves and correct ourselves. So that was wonderful. That's one of the things I love most by Imam al-Ghazali, the good thoughts, and how, remember, he's told us, you have to act on them quickly because the lower thoughts come immediately and say, don't do it, don't do it. Brilliant. All right.
So we have Zara, and then we have Ahmed, and then Medina.
Okay, Zara.
So basically, one of the things that I learned from the Al-Ghazali book is also about like the higher self, the blaming self, and the nafs. It's because a lot of the time I feel like I really don't want to do something but then I'm like, it will make them happier, whoever the person is, I'm doing it for them. So because like last week, I think my mum and my sister Hannah wanted to go on a walk with me. And I didn't want to because I was feeling tired, but I was like, oh, it might make them happier if I go with them. So I went with them and I ended up having a lot of fun.
That's fantastic. You know, you're such a good student, by the way. I remember last week we talked about that each one of us is like a knight in armor, shining armor. We go out to kill the dragons, you know, and I said, who is the dragon? And you said the Nafs. So you're one of our brightest students. Thank you very much. And what about your sisters? What have struck you about the Ghazalis? What have you learned from the Ghazali Book of Knowledge?
I found actually when I was looking over what we had to do before this lesson, thinking about which chapters struck us most, I kind of realized how much each chapter really struck me, like especially just the initial idea of just our hearts being golden hearts that get black spots in them, and those black spots are the bad things that we do and that we have to polish them off. Like that has been something that stayed with me. And just each lesson, like, and how you said that backbiting is like eating your dead brother's flesh or something, that really stuck with me. Like I haven't forgotten any of these things. And there was one big story about and one big chapter about how in order to actually like learn something, in the story of Al-Ghazali and how he lost all his notes and how they were stolen from him, and so he had to commit all his knowledge like to memory and use it in his actions. That definitely stuck with me, because now I find that all the knowledge that I'm acquiring and everything that's getting taught to me, I'm trying to put it into my actions and use it whenever I can. And all the knowledge that I've done that too, I haven't forgotten for a single day, for a single moment. And I found that's like a big thing.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's really great. That's really great. You know, it's just to be given that idea of who we really are, the symbol of the golden heart, you know, and to really feel it. And, you know, if you do something bad, right, you feel bad afterward, right?
Yeah.
And if you do something good, right, you feel good after. So you can notice, oh, I don't feel great after what I just said. So we've got this incredible watchdog system going. But the whole issue is, just as what you're just saying about the golden heart, is how do we act out of who we really are? How do we act and speak out of our golden hearts rather than our minds that are just saying me, me, me? So the golden heart is what Imam al-Ghazali opens up with. And by the way, just so you all know, the heart is the key of every tradition on earth. It's not just a one-off with al-Ghazali, it's an eternal truth. So I'm so glad you brought that up. All right, other sister?
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
A story that I think really, it's been mentioned already, but I really, really love the ant and the pen story. It's really, it's helped me, I think, because one of our family members hasn't been that well lately. And so I'm just being able to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and remember that there's something bigger here, and that inshallah everything will be fine as long as we trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been really helpful.
That's really beautiful. That's really beautiful. Yeah. So Lubna, will you call on?
Yeah, we're going to Ahmed. Ahmed's had his hand up for a while.
Ahmed?
And then Medina, then Sarah and Mariam.
Ahmed?
So one thing that I learned from the Ghazali book, so I didn't know about the heart, the golden heart, before this classes, and now I know about it, and like I learned that of the things that can harm it, like envy, backbiting, and all those very harmful things. And I try to stay away from those types of things, and that has made me a better person than I was before.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Have you, yeah, it's great to be able to watch yourself and take care of yourself, isn't it? You know, you've been handed your golden heart. You see what we're doing here. We're giving all of you your spiritual life is your own, right? it's not your parents policing you and saying, did you do this? Did you pray? No, you have been given your own spiritual heart to watch over and take care of and be aware of if something negative comes in. So I'm delighted that you are making progress with these things, you know, that you've got a program underway. Thank you.
Okay, next is Medina.
I didn't have my hand up.
Oh, she didn't have her hand up.
Okay, then next is Sarah and Mariam.
Okay, going back to the things that we were saying about what makes a good teacher, I wanted to say what makes a good teacher is that they are humble about their knowledge and that they don't boast about the good things they do. Because I think when they're humble about their knowledge, that's when you actually learn from them because it seems genuine.
Wow.
But when they talk a lot and boast a lot about what they've done, because it seems less genuine, you're less likely to learn from it.
Wow.
So as an example, I remember when one girl at school was upset about something. I wasn't involved in it, but I know some other girls had made her upset. And one of my friends went to comfort her. And when my friend went to comfort her, it was in front of no one. I only knew because I followed my friend wanting to know where she was going. And I saw my friend comfort this girl, and my friend didn't tell anyone. It was purely because she is a really lovely person and she wanted to make sure this girl was okay. And because of it, because it was genuine, I learned from it. Later that day, another person went to the girl to comfort her, but it wasn't genuine. And I can say it's not genuine because afterwards she went around to other girls saying, I went to that girl and I comforted her.
Wow.
What did you guys do? You know, and because she was boasting about her good thing, it didn't seem so good. And I wouldn't have learned to comfort others had it not been for the initial friend who did it purely for goodness, not to showcast how good she is to other people. So,
well, I think what you've just said is so important. I can't tell you how many times I think I've done things and good and talked about them, and it's really horrible. And I'm still trying to break the habit because we've grown up in the West, all of us, where people, you know, are always trying to push themselves up. I've done this, this, and this, thinking people will like them better. But you, of course, saw it very clearly. What you love about is the person who does the thing in secret and humbly. And that is one of the most essential tools we have to be able to stop taking credit for everything. When you get to the book of Zakat, we know that everything we are, you right now, I'm looking at you, your qualities, your strengths, your parents, where you live, the connections you have, you didn't give yourself anything, right? You didn't give yourself your skills or your parents. Everything you've been given is on loan to you from Allah. This comes from the book of Zakat. It's on loan and it's a trust. And it means that you can't take credit for it, yet we're all out there taking credit for everything, aren't we? We're not saying, I mean, really, you brought up a really good point. Everyone, we all have to think about this, you know, because it said, what we send ahead for our souls to Allah, that is the greatest reward. But are you going to take the reward here or with the state of your being in paradise? It's a good question. All right, sister, what are you going to tell us?
Well, I actually found that something I've learned from the Al-Ghazali book was, and something I've really liked about it is when, I'm not sure which chapter this was in, but there was a glass and how they were talking about filling it with water was like your knowledge, and people like refusing, they think they know everything, so they refuse to take knowledge. Because I found like there are these times where I think, you know what, so I can do this, like, but like I'm not doing something properly, I'm doing it a way that I can do it. And then, however, because I take such a long time and it's not even that good, and then I realized in the first place, I could have just asked someone else, but I just had that idea that I knew how to do it. I want to do it this time. And but I found sometimes you need to act like your cup isn't full yet, and you need to let other people teach you how to do it.
You know, I'd forgotten about that chapter, but it's a really good one. And you hear the story in many traditions. A student goes to a master and they're sitting like this, and here's the master. And then the lesson is this: the master starts pouring water out of a pitcher into a glass. And then the student says, but oh, master, the glass is full. The water is pouring all over the table. The message was, the teacher was saying, I can't teach you anything because you're a know-it-all, you know, because we all get into, I know, right? So the message is we should be humble, just as your sister mentioned, and empty, you know, and ready to listen. And that's the humility you were talking about. I mean, I'm so glad you brought up that story. I'd forgotten about it. That's really great. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, also, I just wanted to say, when we were talking about the teachers, this was actually a different teacher, but I think I might have mentioned her in the last lesson. But I think what I liked about her was, so she'd tell, it was actually a bit similar to what my sister was saying, but like, so she'd tell you how she was praying for you and she was making dua for you and she's doing all these things, but then she wouldn't go off and tell everyone else, oh yeah, I'm praying for you. And you, for example, I know if she's praying for lots and lots of children, she'd only tell you that she was praying for you, but she wouldn't go off and tell the other children, oh yeah, I'm praying for everyone and this is such hard work. And, you know, having to do all this. She just does it. And I think like I guess as like part of like whenever she prays, she doesn't even think about it. She just knows I've got to do this and I think that's really sweet about what she does. So
yeah, that's very good. You see, this is one of those subtle things, everybody. It's like we have an opportunity to lie all the time, even to ourselves, of why we're doing something, right? But the bragging thing is really subtle. I think we do it all the time. You know, I go in and say to my husband, oh, I made the house perfect, you know, I want to be praised and I want him to think I'm great, you know. What about if I just humbly went and did this beautiful thing quietly? Wouldn't that, you know, this is really quite an amazing conversation we're all having. All right, who else would like to speak?
So the next person was Tabe, had his hand up.
Tabe.
Okay, so one of the things I've learned from the Al-Ghazali book was when you so when you I don't know how to explain it, but the chapter where there was where the kid broke his foot and then the army was recruiting him.
Yeah, the boy and the horse. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kind of happened to my grandfather. Like
what happened?
So he had to go to work, and it was like something with the Twin Towers, and then it was scheduled, but he slept in, and he didn't get to go to the Twin Towers, and that was the day that they crashed and stuff.
Yeah.
And he slept in.
Yeah, that makes me cry. That's really true. You know, that's going on all the time. And I'm so glad you noticed it that way. Sometimes, you know, you're in a traffic jam and you think, oh, we're going to be late. There's a reason for it. It's a huge, gigantic web of mercy from God. It's a total setup offering us opportunities, just as the one you've just described. That person's life was saved by being kept back. You know, look at that.
I just flew from Astana to Aktau when we landed. And when I just left the plane, plane got fire.
Wow.
And the entire plane was burned.
Wow.
Just after I left.
Yeah. It wasn't your time. Yeah. You know, it wasn't your time. My goodness. Woo. What now that you're there, Haldun, what have you learned most from the Book of Knowledge that is helping your life in what way?
Being more cautious to keep spiritual heart clean is a life-changing experience for me. Like changing my mindset and focusing on spiritual heart is a life-changing experience. I realized that I'm damaging my heart many times in a day. accepting my weaknesses, I think like makes me stronger. And now, Alhamdulillah, I guess like by like constantly being cautious and reminding myself about the existence of the spiritual heart, Alhamdulillah, I mean, like helps me better deal with my weaknesses. I mean, just realizing the existence and importance of the spiritual heart, I think made a huge change in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really true, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
And you know, children and all of us, if we have a bad thought, remember, it's not the real us having it, it's the lower stupid self having it. And it's an opportunity to purify. If you have a stupid thought like, oh, I'm glad that team, my friend lost. I'm glad my friend fell off the horse. You know, don't think you're thinking that. That's the horrible waswisu coming in, you know, and we want to get rid of those whisperings. Just see them for what they are and say, that's not me. That's beneath my dignity. Those are just the thoughts, but they're there for you to use them and to see them. And the more you reject that kind of thought, the stronger you become in who you really are. Just strengthen who you already are, your own pure selves. Yeah, thank you very much for that. All right, who else?
Suwaida, and then Ali and Ahmed.
Good, good.
And then Alperin's later.
Right.
Don't worry. And then AA, I don't know who that is. But next is Suwaida.
Suwaida, all right, Suwaida.
So I have this friend, I mean, we're not really friends anymore, but so like we were friends, but then like she did so many bad things. And she like did it on purpose just to hurt me.
Oh.
And like she made it so obvious that she was trying to hurt me. So well, she obviously like made me really upset, but when like we stopped being friends, I never acted like her because I know like the way she made me felt, and I didn't want to do that to other people. And I didn't do that to other people because I know it would make them upset and how it made me upset.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want other people to like go through that either. And yeah.
That's really good. Look what you learned. In a way, she was your teacher. You were able to take her teaching, right, and use it for yourself, even though it was a painful trial, really, having her like that. But you could see, I don't want to ever be like that. I mean, that's wonderful. That's a great observation. Yeah. Anything else?
And what she learned from the book, right? That's the question, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, well, she learned something. Yeah, she learned.
So next is Ali and Ahmed.
So one thing that I learned from the book of knowledge is that not being like two-faced. Let's say you tell someone to pray, but you don't pray. Like that just taught me not to be two-faced, because sometimes I used to do that. Like let's say someone used to do bad stuff and I used to tell them not to do it, but then I did the same thing. And that's what I learned to not do anymore.
I think
so what I learned is from the book of So what I learned is to not gossip and be bad to others, because then it might come to you too. So like if you be like really mean to people, so if you're in school and then you be like really mean, and then a new student comes in and he's like a bully, and then the same thing would come to you that you did to other people.
Absolutely.
So to not be like rude to others.
Yeah. It's very tempting because a lot of people don't know what's really going on in life. They don't get that this is what life is for, you know, and they do that. They talk badly and about others. And I think what your brother said about being two-faced, you know, people sometimes are two-faced, and that's nifaq or hypocrisy, you know, to make it look like you're this way, but hidden inside it some other way. You all have brought up two very good points. Excellent. Who else has their hand up?
Okay, next is, I don't know who AA is.
I just wanted to add something that
Is that Jenna?
yeah, that's me. That's me.
Hi Jenna, assalamu alaikum.
Something I just
Did you say
wanted to add is you should never think badly about somebody else because you know that Allah can hear what you're thinking.
Ah.
So yeah.
But you know, if you catch yourself, right?
Yeah, then
like,
don't do it anymore.
Then Imam al-Ghazali says, if you find you have a bad intention, a bad reason for doing something, the reason I'm really going to visit the sick lady is for people to think well of me. He said, when you notice you have a bad intention, right? Just think, I'm going to change the intention. I'm going to go to visit her because it's the correct thing to do. You know, so it's not like you're stuck with your intentions. That's just the nut throwing them up. And who is with you there?
It's me. Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, there you are.
Hello, nice to see you. I'm so sorry I've been away a lot because we've moved house, alhamdulillah.
Well, congratulations, Mabruk.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, Jazakallah.
Tell us something you have gotten out of the Book of Knowledge that's helped you in your life and how it's helping you.
You know, it's so hard because I've realized a few different things. First of all is I've been going through some terrible trials, but guess what? Everyone thinks I'm fine. So I've realized that from the outside, you can't tell what trials people are going through.
Wow.
And then, so you have to be extremely merciful if they're acting a little erratic or not being themselves, or if they say they can't do something, don't get upset. Just assume they're doing their best. Then the other thing I'd say is that I'm as a teacher, I'm probably too easygoing. I think I don't enforce anything, so I'm the other way from some of my colleagues. So I feel like nothing gets done in my house. If supposing I say to someone, listen, don't forget to pray, and then I leave it at that. I feel like they know what they have to do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm not sure. I think I'm the other way a bit too much. So I need to develop that a bit more. I don't like to be mean or harsh. And then the other thing is somebody and in terms of my trials, Sister Aisha, I was very, very encouraged by when you tell your own stories of your life, because it's like having an older person who can give you the benefit of their experience, right? Alhamdulillah, because we all need that. And there is a lot of that lacking in our community, and a lady especially who really understands, who's grown up in our circumstances, understands our situation. We don't have access to that. So I'm very grateful. Thank you for being brave and sharing, because when I hear what you went through, your health issues and so on, I just think, well, maybe I can get through these trials too and come out better for it, inshallah. And the other thing I'm scared of is that sometimes you have trials that are so bad that you can actually lose your faith. You can say, I don't trust in Allah anymore.
Yeah, that happens. But, you have to go down to go back up. Sometimes you have to go to the bottom and then you turn around and go back up. And also, so it's also an important lesson. Don't worry. If you go down, you'll go back up. Sometimes you have, as they say, you have to hit rock bottom, So, but you can call me anytime. We can just talk on the phone and have a good time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
inshallah. And about teaching, I wanted to say a story somebody once told me. I think everyone tries hard. Students are always trying hard. Somebody once told me that there was a lady in her class who used to always never put up the hand, used to just shout out the answers, and used to get yelled at every time. Say, why can't you be polite? Why do you do this? Turns out that he's got a slight learning thing where he can't recall things for very long. So he has to, if he doesn't say it right now, if somebody later, he'll have forgotten the question. So they got problem was, it wasn't he was being rude or selfish. They got him to just write down the answer, and then he put up his hand like everyone else, and that made a big difference.
Wow.
So sometimes to assume that people are all trying their best, and if they're behaving oddly, it's because they can't. There's something going on.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So just assume people are trying hard.
That's beautiful, because that's the basis for mercy, isn't it? Just to know that everybody's getting to things when they can. Hamza Yusuf did a wonderful talk about this podcast, saying that everybody's on a different time scale with their spiritual development, and examples and all the rest, but people sometimes can't get to something till they can get to it, so we can't say that person's no good because they're not doing it like I'm doing it. No, we all know,
Yeah, so assume the best. And the other thing my little girl said to me, which I thought was so clever, she says sometimes teachers don't give clear instructions and then they yell at you later. and you didn't know what you had to do. Somebody wasn't clear, or they got irritated. So I think that's really true for us. You know, if you're not clear, you can't get upset. You have to be really, really clear.
Yes. Amen. That's really. That's
yeah.
beautiful. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing this with everybody. That's beautiful. Okay, Lubna, who is next?
Alperen next. Alperen's next, and then Medina and Bilal's next after that.
Oh, Alperen, yes.
The story that I liked, which taught me the most, was the one about the horse and the boy, because
Yeah.
it said when something bad or good happens, you don't know if it changes or you will stay the same.
That's really, really true. That's really true. You know, your name, Alperen, you know, I've been watching the 450 episodes of Ertugrul, the founder of the Ottoman embassy in dynasty, his grandson. And what I've loved about that is the Alps, and your name Alp comes from that. These are these warriors, and exactly they were just like what you just said. You know, through thick and thin, they did the correct thing. Thank you, Alperen.
Okay, next we have Medina and Bilal.
I'm not 100% sure this is in the book of knowledge, but something that really taught me was a little thing about like telling people to pray, but not actually doing it yourself.
Yeah.
So if you go around saying like, oh, you missed the Fajr prayer, and then you don't actually do like most of your prayers, I'm forgetting the word for it, but it's not good because you're blaming people for things that you don't even, for things that you also do.
Yeah, you know, that term Bilal is called hypocrisy. It's called nifaq. It's considered in Islam one of the worst things you can do. And by the way, just so you know, that is what happened with Imam al-Ghazali. Remember in his life that he's standing up teaching people every day, and he's so smart and everyone thinks he's the smartest person, and he realized that he was asking them to do things that he wasn't doing. He was asking them to be humble, and he was really proud. And one day, remember, it got so bad, he couldn't face his hypocrisy. And that's when God took his voice away to help him. And then he left for 10 years and wrote these beautiful books for us. And he finally was humble. When he came back to live with his family, there was no one there. He was so at peace. And a man came all the way to visit al-Ghazali in Jerusalem just before Ghazali died. And the man said, when I reached, oh, this makes me cry. When I reached Imam al-Ghazali and I'm sitting in front of him, this man said, I found what I was looking for. What do you suppose he found that he was looking for? Someone who was at peace and silent and humble. Yes, go ahead.
Me?
Yeah, yes.
I think he found like happiness because he saw that Imam al-Ghazali was very happy.
Yes.
Even though Imam al-Ghazali may not have had like the luxury hotel home with 1,000 children and a safe. He may not have had that, but he was still happy. And I think this man probably admired that and found his inner happiness.
Yeah, inner happiness is being content. And they say, Irji ila rabbika radiyatan mardiya, return to your Lord, content, well-pleasing to God, but also content in yourself. Yes. And Medina, you want to add something?
So I know this is from a while ago, but somebody commented that like her friend wasn't nice to her, and she didn't want to be mean to her friends. Well, I used to have a friend, and she liked me so much that she and my other friend would fight over me. Like once I was sitting on the swings, and like they both came up to me. They were like, I want to sit next to you. No, I do. And they were fighting, and this might be surprising. I really didn't like it because I know it's nice that they liked me a lot, but it was just so complicated because well, one time me and one of my friends wanted to play this fun game at recess, and then my other friend said, "No, I want to play this game with you." And then she started crying because I didn't want to do that.
Oh dear.
And once this was really mean. So my best friend, she held the door for another girl, and that other girl was like, "No, I want Medina to hold the door for me."
Uh-oh. Oh, these are some of the things you all are going through, I'm sure. My goodness, thank you for that contribution. And who else has their hand up? We're running out of time, so we need everyone who hasn't spoken.
I think 2 people haven't spoken. I think it's Haluk and Azra.
Okay, let's go. Haluk.
I'm not sure if Haluk is here because I kept asking him, but Sueda also needs to tell what she learned.
My bad. I was in like a room and I couldn't.
You're
yeah.
there?
Yeah.
Is that Haluk?
Hello, yeah. I'm not home right now and like my mic is really cutting off and the Wi-Fi is really bad. So, like
we can hear you. We can hear
you.
you.
You can? Okay. Should I read my paragraph that I wrote?
Yeah, we don't see you. Can we see you too? Yeah.
In crowded place. Learning on not to backbite taught me to be more respectful to others as well as be polite to others. Before I learned about how bad also sinful backbiting was, I did it so often. Yeah, that's really it. Yeah, about backbiting and like how bad it can impact other people and me.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that, Haluk, because we know how bad it is. That's the Quran that says what it is, you know, how bad it is. And, you know, I'm so glad you've been able.
And also it's a major sin, right? Like it's a major sin, backbiting.
And, you know, you're going to be fasting now for Ramadan. And there's a hadith in which the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, 2 ladies who were fasting came up to him and they said, "We're old and tired. We can't finish the fast." And he handed them a bowl and he said, "I want you to throw up in the bowl." And all these people were watching in horror and they threw up pieces of flesh and blood. And everyone was surprised. And the Prophet said, "You already broke your fast by backbiting." Isn't that something? So that's how bad it is, right? And remember in Ramadan that there are 2 fasts. We're going to talk about this another time. The fast of, you know, food and water and all that, but the fast of the special people, which you all are, is where you do the fast of the tongue and of the ear and of the feet. You actually really, maybe you're too young to fast. Maybe you can only fast half a day, but what you can do is stop speaking bad things, right? Stop listening to bad things, right? Don't take your feet taking you to wrong places. This is a huge opportunity. Eyes, stop looking at not good things, right? So we are about to embark, I think, Tuesday on a time where you will really be involved. Haluk, think, you know, really concentrate on never saying anything, you know, bad. Silence is beautiful. So I'm so glad you brought that up because that is one of the key things of the Book of Knowledge for me too. Thank you. And who else was going to speak who hasn't spoken?
Next, Azra.
Azra.
Yes. So like from these classes, I've learned that I kind of knew about backbiting and like how bad it was, that like it's as if you eat another person's flesh. I knew that because I've learned that like other places too, but like I learned that like doing some bad things like hypocrisy and like spying and like prying. I remember that I haven't heard that before, but then I learned like what those meant here in these classes. So that's something I learned that like makes your golden heart, like makes your faith like a little weaker, and like that's something that I learned.
It's true. You know, Imam al-Ghazali gave us those 10 things, I forget how many, things we shouldn't ever do. And as I said, as we opened the class, there young people have said to me, I don't have to hear, don't backbite, don't spy. I know about that. But what people don't know about, because we're all told all these things we shouldn't do, they don't realize what is going on. You're coming out of the lowest part of yourself. You are taking, you're identifying with something very low and not you. And so we don't want to do this. We have to have the dignity of being who we really are, you know, really are. So I think you have to keep in mind what the inner meaning of not doing these things, like Azra has just pointed out, you know, the reason you don't do it is not just, let me turn off my phone here, is not just because of, not just because it's wrong and somebody said don't do it. It's because you don't want your beautiful heart trashed, right? My goodness. Well, what else do we have? Would anyone else like to make any concluding comments? We've been an hour. We don't want to keep young people from their next thing or lunch or whatever. So would anyone like to?
I spied Farhana hasn't said anything.
Oh, Farhana. I was waiting for her. Where is she?
She's here. She's waving now.
Assalamualaikum, everyone.
There you are, Farhana.
You know, I've been listening, and actually, you know what? I was also looking through the book beforehand, and there are just, mashallah, so many lessons in this book. One lesson that I think all of us always remember is when we started the book and Lubna came round and she told us that this is really important, you should all do it. And all she did was got a mirror and she made it dirty. So she put some black marks all over the mirror, and then she passed it around the class and she told everyone to just try to polish it and try to wipe it clean. And eventually by the time, and I think, what did you do? You talked about the good deeds at the same time, or Lubna, did you?
I hope so.
It wasn't just an exercise in polishing. But the thing is that what I find is that everybody remembers it. It was such a simple demonstration. And at the time, we didn't know anything much about the Ghazali series or anything like that. We talked about Al-Ghazali, but it's something that all the girls have always remembered about, just a visual thing showing that you polish your heart. Another thing I also really liked was Zara's thing about the 3 selves, because that isn't something I knew before. And I find the self that is relaxing near Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I find that one easier to kind of hone into. That's easier to do than to argue with yourself a lot. So you just think, I'm just going to be my more relaxed self. And one of the other chapters, I guess you're probably regretting that you called on me at the last minute, but one of the other chapters that I really liked was doing too many things.
Yeah.
So because in the workbook, it just says that, it says here that pretend you are a stream of clear blue water headed to bring water to a magical special garden. You have just enough water to make it there, where you will be very happy. Wow. But you along the way and you do other things. Yeah. So that's, so I thought that was a really, really amazing analogy. And also the heart is like a house, the barking dogs in your heart that keep the angels out. So yeah, that's I think I've probably contributed enough now, but there were so many lovely messages in the book, and I think it's so lovely that we've sort of tried to recap a lot of them.
Yeah, this has been for me one of the nicest classes, because I haven't just been talking. I've been listening to all these wonderful thoughts and insights. It's really wonderful. And I think since we're meeting in 2 weeks, maybe we're going to skip and do the book of fasting, which is only 3 chapters. So why doesn't everybody just read those? They're really short. And then we will talk about, because then you will have had a time, whether you're fasting or only partially fasting, then you will have had some time to see if you can put some of these ideas into action. So should we do that in 2 weeks? Should we meet? Is that a good plan?
Yeah, that's a great plan, Sister Aisha.
And anyone else have anything they had wanted to say and didn't get a chance before we give our blessings to each other?
So we have, I don't know if Afrina's hand is up for a reason, or is that just up from before?
Sweda didn't read her paragraph.
Oh, let's have Sweda. Let's do it.
Learning about barking dogs and angels in my heart, I started including it in my life. Before I learned about this, I did things without thinking what is really the right thing for me. I did whatever seemed the easiest, but after realizing how important it is to resist the barking dogs, I started being more careful and made it a difference in my life.
That's fabulous. Fabulous. Well, I think we've put you all through a lot. And I just want to say, I love you all. And I love being part of this wonderful family with you. And I have to be honest, I am learning so much from this because I'm really thinking about it, like this morning sitting with my husband and saying, people tell you not to lie, but what's the real reason? And him saying, it's very subtle. You can lie every few minutes if you think about it, about something. So this is not just for young people. This is for the whole family. And we're making the wonderful journey together. And I love you all.
Medina's really desperate to say something, Sister Aisha.
Oh, I see. Okay, Medina, say something.
So the reason my brother's not here is because his friend just came.
All right. All right. Thank you very much for telling us that. Yes. Well, thank you very much, Medina. All right, my group, I'll see you 2 weeks from now at 10 in the morning. If that's still good for everybody in terms of Ramadan and everything, we'll see how it goes. All right.
Yeah. And we are starting, which book are we starting?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take a break from the order of the books and just read. It's in the book of Zakat. The last 3 chapters is the book of fasting. It's really short. Okay. So I want everyone to have read that and looked at the activities and things and talk about, not they've just read it, but talk about every one of you, how you've tried some of these ideas in these 2 weeks. So read it right away. It's really short. All right. And then start getting ready and maybe every day in Ramadan watching and seeing how you're doing with some of the, and we'll report in how we're doing with these ideas. All right.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Sister Aisha.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Ramadan Kareem.
Ramadan Kareem, everyone. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah.